No one does.
All right. We just saw The Huntsman. What's the tagline for this movie?
Winter's War?
Winter's War.
Like that?
Winter's War.
Anyway. Basically, it starts before Snow White and the Huntsman. It's with the Evil Queen and her sister, who knew she had a sister. And we see the Huntsman and his whole gang grow up from kids, and they're being trained. And then it skips over the Snow White and the Huntsman movie. And using that, it starts, and then it goes 7 years after that. And we see the Huntsman again. Are we looking at any positives for this movie?
A few, if there are any. I liked. The story itself interested me. I don't know. It was interesting. It was intriguing, and it kind of.
I think that the first two acts are a lot better than the third, which in the third act, a lot gets thrown in your face, and you're just overwhelmed, and you're just like, what is going on? But I didn't think it was a disaster. The dwarves were really.
Yeah, I like the
At first, it didn't work, but I think that as the movie went along, they started working a lot better. They were the comic relief of the movie, which
desperately needed.
I guess what I can say about the movie, which I was actually really surprised with, pretty striking visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. With the first, like Snow White and the Huntsman, it was kind of just, they pushed it a little bit with the visuals, with the queen and stuff. This was really like, there were points in the movie where I was like, that's dope.
Yeah.
There
was some really good shots.
Good shots. The visual effects.
It's but like the ice
good.
queen's effects were dope. I like those too.
Yeah, really good, striking visuals. That's one thing I can say. It looked like, looking at the screen, I was like, that looks good. Now there are a lot of negatives with this movie, and that's kind of the problem. The story for me was boring. There were a couple of interesting parts, which we won't spoil. Because I think it's still an interesting film to see, at least.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess. The main problem is the characterization for me. There's a saying in film, show, don't tell. And there was tons of telling, not a lot of showing. All the dialogue was really bad exposition dialogue. It was very much like, I did this when we were younger. I didn't see that. So no, I don't believe you, because I didn't see it happening.
It dragged on in a couple areas that really, when I was watching, I was just like, when is this scene ever going to end? And also, the one thing that I saw, and I was kind of like, one eye closed, one eye open to it, was the goblins. I didn't like the goblins.
I didn't care. It's that simple. The design was interesting, but I was like,
I didn't like how they looked or how they moved. It was I don't
you care?
It's nitpicking, but I just didn't. I wasn't crazy about the goblins. I also, like you said, the dialogue had me like cringing and like sort of like scared to hear them talk ever, and it was just. It wasn't the greatest movie for me.
There are plenty of negatives in this movie, really. The acting, I think Thor, once again, I mean, I gotta call him Thor.
Yeah, seriously, he's Thor in everything.
He's just Thor without the hammer.
He was trying a different accent, which was on and off.
Yeah.
I was, at first you're like, is he doing it? And then you're like,
I couldn't tell at first what the accent
and then you're like, wait, he didn't do the accent there. Where is the accent?
You know when I got the accent, though?
When he was talking to the dwarves.
No, it was when she started, Jessica Chastain started talking. That's when I was like, oh, that's what he's trying to do. When a real actor started acting, it was like, oh, he's trying to act for real. Gotcha.
Emily Blunt, who I love, and I would love to just watch a movie with her face all over it. It's just, it's something about her character.
Man.
I'm going to kill it, right? Like,
one
it just felt
dimensional. It was literally like they could have put a piece of paper and drawn Emily Blunt's face and had like a hole cut out and got some guy to go, I am that Ice Queen.
You kind of feel like she's trying her best, but really the character doesn't really help her out. In that sense.
It looked like every scene she was just gonna break down crying.
The problem with Emily Blunt's character in this movie was that it was kind of like the Electro problem with Amazing Spider-Man 2, where it's literally one bad thing happens, and she goes from being a lovely queen to like...
She literally murders someone as soon as it
like,
happens.
Seriously, it's like she is just straight up evil, and oh my god, the motivation for her is so goofy. When she said, basically, to love is a sin. That can't be like how you.
If they were gonna do that, they really should have made this movie like
a goof fest.
A goof fest. The CGI. I mean, last week we talked about a movie that had amazing CGI, and here we are talking about.
This is it.
Look,
CGI.
I was kind of questioning myself throughout the whole video. I mean, the whole movie. I was like,
"Is this good?
Is this good?" Or you know,
I also was doing that too.
We are coming off the heels of an amazing CGI movie, and then there was one scene where I was just like, "No, this is not good CGI." If you see the movie, you will know what I'm talking about.
Oh, man.
Somewhere in the jungle, ironically enough.
The CGI is really kind of on and off for me. It's not completely bad because, like I said, the striking visuals, a lot of it comes from the CGI, but it's more the CGI mixed with what's going on the set, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was some of the scenes where they had like the snowflakes falling in front of the... Mm-hmm. I thought that visually made it look really cool. It was like the subtle CGI is what did it for me. And the use of like her ice powers looked fine for me. You
feel like there's kind of two stories, right? With the Ice Queen and then Charlize Theron's character, and then the whole Thor and Jessica Chastain. There's kind of two stories being told, and then they mesh them together.
But they're two half-told stories being meshed together.
And they're two stories that don't have anything to do with each other. And then at the end of the movie, they just go, "We got two scripts here. We got two scripts." There's a risk that you take going to the movies every week like we do. Sometimes you just get this, where it's like, it's got potential, and it looks visually good, but...
And I think that's what's frustrating about some of these movies, is like you go in and you're watching it and you're just like, this movie could be good, but then you see them screwing it up. And then
it's the same thing with Jupiter Ascending. It's like very much that kind of thing where it's like, visually, I think it's unique.
Yeah.
I think it's very striking visuals, but then you get a cast that is not really performing, and that's really up to the director. That's his fault.
Absolutely. These are really great A actors.
Yeah. He had a very good cast.
Other than Thor.
Final ratings. What are we looking at here when we wrap this up?
I don't think that this movie is a disaster. I really don't. I think that I really enjoyed watching it as it was unfolding. I think that the first and second acts are a lot better than the last act. Overall, I'm going to go right down the middle. I'm going to say maybe a point or two over the middle. I'm going to say 5.5.
I may have to go with what Rich said, maybe even exactly the rating he gave.
Hey, man.
This movie...
way to have your own mind.
Well, I was going to do that anyway, but this movie for me was sort of a mess. But there are some things that I took away where I was like, I like that. But then others, I was just like... That's a disaster. That's got to go. So I'm going to give it 5 for me.
Visually, for me, satisfying. There wasn't really a moment where I thought it was like boring to look at. It's just, I need you to tell me and show me a story that I care about and give me characters I care about. Characters are the most important thing in every film. If I can remember the character's name years after the film comes out, you did something right. I can't remember the character. I'm not joking when I say this. I don't remember the characters' names.
I remember like 2. It was just Eric. That's it. That is it.
So when it's something where it's visually striking for me, and it's not anything story related that you're giving me, and the characters are very weak with a very strong cast, I kind of have to agree with Richard. Just not giving it a point above with a 5.5. It's very much a 5. Just a 5. Very down the middle. Missed potential for me. Very much a 5.
Okay.
Huntsman. So if you saw this movie, in the comments below, just tell us what you thought. We love to hear your thoughts, actually, because we aren't the only people in the world who have these opinions, I'm sure. Like, subscribe.
Follow us on Twitter. We're all on Twitter. We have a Twitter for the channel as well. All that jazz.
All that jazz.
Yeah.
Also, please just comment any ideas, any films you'd like us to see, any questions that you had, any interesting news stories that you've heard about films at all. Because what I'd love to do, with more views, more likes, more subscribers, I'd love to have a midweek video where we literally just have a roundtable discussion about just random stuff that's been going on in the film world, using your questions and your comments. So, I mean, I'd just love to get everyone involved because I love everyone. Anyway, this has been the Huntsman and Winter's War.
2.5.
Seriously, this shouldn't have been a movie because none of us asked for it. But we did see it, and we definitely had a discussion about it. And this has been a review from the fifth row. Huntsman, 0.5 to
2.
2.